Councillor Hill, can I get you to say an opening karakia, please?
Look, yes, I'm happy to, Graham, but as Jenna's here with us, I'd like to defer to Jenna to provide that if it's okay.
That's fine.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Chris. He karakia tīmatanga, me karakia tātou. Ko te reo o ngā manu te rā, ka tangi nei I te ao, kua uru ko te rā ki Wainganui I a Ranganui I a Papatua Anuku. Ka noho ko Ranginui ki runga ko Papatua Anuku ki raro. Ka hiki iho ko ngā roimata I a Ranganui, ka hiki aki ko te kohu I a Papatua Anuku. Ko te tohu te rā, ka ora tāua I te ao I te pō. Tūturu whakamaua ki a tīna, huie, taike. So just a very loose translation. It is essentially acknowledging above us and below us that the rain falls and the mist rises, and it is a sign that we shall all live in the day and the night.
Thanks, Jenna.
Very good, thank you. Just a reminder, excuse me, as this is a Zoom call, can we all just keep microphones muted and use the hand up function on Zoom when you want to speak? Thank you. I have one apology from Councillor Walker. Do we have any others? No.
I'll move the apology, Graham.
Thank you, David.
I'm happy to second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Updates to declarations of interest. Has any member got any interest declarations that they want to make at this time? I'll take silence as no. Excuse me. So we'll move on to the minutes of the June the 9th meeting. And we need to confirm these minutes. Can I have a mover and seconder, or do any committee members have any changes they want to record? David, are you prepared to move?
I'm happy to move.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Christine. All those in favour say aye.
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 The contrary, carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on, the first item in the agenda is looking at the annual report, and the availability of John Mackey, the external auditor, is very limited today, but he is available now. But I propose, as he wants to discuss fraud prevention practices and associated risks, that we need to move into public excluded just for a short period of time so that we can have a full discussion of this. Can I have a mover and seconder to move into public excluded, please? Thank you, Christine. Can't see another. Oh, I'll second it.
I'm happy to, Chair.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
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 Against? Carried. Thank you. So we're now in PX. Can the democracy advisors make sure that we're in compliance with that, and only the committee, and do what's needed? Can you let me know when you're...
We're just letting everyone in now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All back in.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 7.1 in the agenda, the annual report, progress and draft non-financial sections for review. Alan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and councillors and the other independent member. So just brief introduction from me. So the purpose of this report is really to provide you sort of early picture of our non-financial performance for the year, and an opportunity to review, I guess, how we've presented that information, and I guess it's a good chance for you to provide any feedback in terms of the way we're presenting that information, which we can look at trying to incorporate into the final version of the annual report to come back to audit and risk later in the year. In terms of service performance, it's hard to make a direct comparison with last year because some of the levels of service have changed through the LTP, but certainly on the basis of the sort of percentage of the different levels of service targets that we achieved, performance is about similar to last year. We have made a few changes to the way we've presented information or some additional information into the annual report to just draw your attention to. So firstly, the year in review section. So we've moved from a kind of long section of text to some infographics on each of the activities. And we have added some disclosure around climate change, what we're doing to help mitigate and adapt to climate change, and greenhouse gas emissions measurement. It's the first time that we have measured that, or we've reported that. That's not it's not required, but we felt that it would be of interest to the public. And we've added a page around volunteer appreciation. So this was something that was raised, I think, by Councillor Mackenzie last year when we did the annual report, and we've sort of looked to I guess find a way to meet that request. So yeah, that's really kind of my intro. I'm not sure whether Matt wants to add anything more. I'm certainly available for questions.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, just a quick update on the financials. Essentially, we're on target to complete what we need to complete for audit's arrival on the 3rd of October. That doesn't put us in a position, though, to do exactly what Alan's done. He's able to provide a lot more information, but nevertheless, basically everything's on track. So just to give that assurance to the committee.
Okay, thank you, Alan and Matt. Do any committee members have any comments or questions that they want to raise at this stage? Over to you. Graham McGlynn.
Thank you, Chair. I like the graphical approach to the service performance aspects that are set out on page 16 to 26 of our papers. Some of them have targets and others don't, and wondering if we can get some context as to how we're going against expected performance in that, if you like, 15-second soundbite that we're presenting. I recognise the detail is further back in the report, but I think it would be useful for those that looking at the annual report and perhaps not financially literate or are just looking for the snapshot can get a little more context.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, certainly we can have a look at that and see whether we can add targets into those into those infographics where we haven't already got them. So yep, one for us to follow up before the next version.
Christine.
Thank you through you, Chair. I really liked the page on the volunteers, so thank you so much, Alan, for doing that. And I guess the caption for the photo, I didn't see the caption, but I guess maybe that's volunteer planting around the Waimea Inlet, and so it would be good to, I assume we'll put a notate photo. Yep.
We can do, yep.
Okay, so thank you very much. Look, I think, you know, the use of infographics is great. I really support that in an annual report, just to try to make the information more accessible to everybody. I have to say these infographics around the levels of service, they kind of did my head in a little bit at the start when I was reading it through, and I got more comfortable with them at the end. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that you change them, but, you know, I think the trick with an infographic is it should be instantly clear what it's actually trying to say. And I felt that somehow the way these are presented, it just required a bit more thinking. But, you know, I'm not suggesting for a moment you change them. I want to make a comment as well with the attendance data that's currently in there for councillor attendance at meetings. So my question is, I'm assuming there will also be the usual page that would come out in the financials around remuneration. So that's a question. Am I right there?
I'll ask Matt to respond to that.
Yeah,
one.
no, definitely. That will certainly be a note to the annual report for sure.
Okay, I think when we present this, I think it's important that that the reader is able to understand the attendance data in relation to the remuneration. So they need to be on the same page or closely connected, because you know, there is a story in there, which I'm not going to talk about what the story is, but I think that in the interest of transparency, getting it close to one another on the same page would be good. Thank you.
Oh, so Graham, you're muted, Graham, sorry.
Sorry about that. Before I ask for any more questions, John Mackey has just emailed me, and there's one matter that he didn't raise as a post-balance date event, and that was the recent weather event that Tasman District experienced. And he wondered whether there was as yet an estimate of what the cost would be for the repairs, because that will have to be disclosed in some way.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I could have a chat at it. I have had discussions with community infrastructure about it. At this stage, we haven't got a number, but it is certainly something that we're pulling together. As you're probably aware, Tasman wasn't hit as hard, although there was obviously damage to some roading, etc. So that's a work in progress at the moment. So we'll wait and see, but certainly we should be able to disclose that, and or have a discussion with John about you know, how we put that in the annual report.
Yes, thank you. Any more questions or comments from committee members on the draft presentation before you?
I'm happy to move the
Sorry, Councillor Hill.
resolution, Graham.
Thank you, David. Councillor Hill, you wanted to say something, or are you seconding?
Just a quick comment. I'm thinking because I just saw Susan Edwards' name there in the management staff, but it must be that John started after the date of the report, of course.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, Susan was here through the the past financial year. Yep.
And my comment on the early pages here with the graphics, I thought they were great. So they sort of fitted my way of thinking or reading, seeing or something. So I could just easily pick things up and thought, I thought they were really well presented, interesting little snippets. Yeah, so I think it looks good, reads well. I think it's well presented, would be my comment about that.
Good. Any
We
other
all have different things that sort of,
sorry.
We all have different things that sort of, you know, suit our sort of style of reading or seeing. So I guess, yeah, but I like the way that that's presented. There'll be people who will pick this up, particularly people in Golden Vale who read every word of this report, and I can guarantee that. And they'll be ringing up with something they've noticed. But for those that just want to have a quick glance at it, you know, I think it's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine.
I don't want to go into the details of it. There's one, Alan, that I'm just going to send you an email on. Yeah, okay.
Any more comments or questions? Councillor,
just as an extra, look, I support Councillor Mackenzie's idea about the remuneration being displayed, and I guess that would include would that include expenses? I think a lot of people in the community are really surprised that you can get elected, not go to a single meeting, and you get paid the same as someone who's doing a lot of work. So that's the nub of it, really. And I think it's great for people to see the reality of that. Expenses would be included in that information.
Yes, they are disclosed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, David's moved the resolution. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Chris. All those in favour say aye.
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 To the contrary, carried. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is item 7.2, health and safety update, page 147.
Kia ora, Chair, committee members and committee member Graham McGlynn. The report includes the most recent 6 monthly health and safety indicators and monitoring report. It also includes a table showing the known key risks in health and safety, their risk assessment, and the Council's current health and safety risk appetite for health. And there's also an update on the progress of the wellbeing strategy that was reported in the last health and safety report to the committee that has been unfortunately delayed in terms of COVID and other activities. So that's why that's still in progress at the moment. And then there's also an update on the Council's recent change to its COVID vaccination policy, which is to no longer require existing or any new employees to be fully vaccinated. And I'm open for questions, please.
Committee, questions? Graham McGlynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Page 149, moving into page 150, there is that table that you have there, and I'm looking at the existing risk ratings and the health and safety risk appetite, where there's some very clear mismatches between the appetite and where we are sitting. Just wondering whether the appetite is correct and needs perhaps to be revisited, and whether the existing risk rating is the prime risk or after mitigations.
Through the chair, yeah, the existing risk rating is after mitigation, and I agree it has been raised in the past that our risk appetites are most likely due for review, and that particular appetite I guess is more of an aspiration, and it doesn't necessarily always fit each specific health and safety risk when we actually look at the detail and what is sitting behind those risks.
Thank you.
On page 151, the sick days taken, that's only about 1.5%. It seems very low in comparison with what I'm seeing elsewhere, where most organisations are experiencing a significant uptick in sickness or COVID-related leave. Is those figures right?
Through the chair, yes, you'll see that it is slightly increased in the previous period. What I have noticed is that through the flexible working arrangements and people now having the opportunity to work from home, is that is sort of creating a tendency for people who are slightly not feeling well will choose to work from home rather than bringing their sickness to work or taking a full sick day. And so I think there's that trade-off between the ability to work remotely and people being genuinely unable to work because they're not well.
And on page 152, Health and Safety Committee meetings, only 4 for the year. That's very low as well.
That's for, sorry, through the chair, that's for the 6 months
Oh.
to date for this year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee in that report?
The chair, if I may, I've jump in, seeing you've requested page 153, the contractor health and safety monitoring. What areas, a few questions, what area does this cover? And I'm assuming that it's public transport and off-site activities. And the secondary question is the impacts of the recent MPI case on supply chain monitoring and the responsibilities under OSH for the contract owner to be keeping an eye on the entire supply chain. I'm wondering if our health and safety representative can provide a bit of guidance in that area as to what the council's doing.
Through the chair, for your first question there, Graham, I think you were asking around the safety observations that have been carried out for contractors. So those are the observations that our own staff are doing on contractor work sites and contractors carrying out work on behalf of the council. To respond to your second question, unfortunately, I'm not a contract holder for any supply chain information, so I'm unable to provide any further response on that request. That would be something that the managers who are in those holding those contract supply chains would need to provide to the committee.
Thank you.
Christine.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just a couple of observations. So I just want to come back, if I may, Joanna, to the table 1, the key health and safety risks. And so the existing risk rating, you've said that that's after mitigation. 2 comments. One, I'm very surprised that our work-related bullying that is not reported and managed is still moderate after mitigation. So, I'm just, that kind of, I don't know, seems odd to me. But I mean, it kind of speaks to culture, I guess. I don't know whether you've got a comment on that, Leonie.
If I may go first through the chair,
Yeah.
Christine, what that is it's the residual risk of the effects of workplace bullying on an individual is what is being rated as moderate. So it's the impact on the individual is considered to be at a moderate level.
Okay, well, in which case I think that the description should more clearly articulate that. And then I guess my other kind of observation is driving conditions. Number 7, driving vehicles, particularly in adverse conditions, and our after mitigation, we're saying that it's low. But I do note actually, a couple of pages later, when we look at the analysis of incidents that have occurred in this reporting period, that there have been 7 relating to vehicles. I recall in my time in DOC, despite the fact that we were flying people around in helicopters and boats and remote islands, vehicles was always, a high risk category. So we say the residual's low, but we've had 7 incidents. So maybe I'm not reading the risk description correctly. I'll just leave you with that thought.
Sure, I can provide further information through the chair, if I may, and that is the majority of our vehicle incidents are very much small bumps and scrapes on vehicles reversing, so at low speed. There aren't any that have been sort of considered to be in high speed areas, high collision crashes.
Cool, thank you.
Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. In terms of the Ask Your Team survey business, is that effective, and like, is that do people, is it something that people, like, is there a sort of a set period where people take the survey or engage with that, or is it something that's more random than that?
So through the chair, the annual Ask Your Team engagement survey that we run is literally an annual survey. We are commencing this year's survey on the 27th of September, and that will run for a 2-week period. last year, I think we was the last time we ran the survey, we did take a break last year due to COVID and some other full council reorganisation changes that we were still trying to embed. So, but the previous year, I think we received over 80% participation in that survey. So I would be very optimistic to think that we can get to that level again, and if not more this year.
Yeah, that was my next question. So it's voluntary.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And just in terms of the COVID vaccination, I guess it's going back a bit, given the changes that have happened. I was just thinking about, you know, that employees were required to be fully vaccinated. And given that there will be some employees who actually had, you know, didn't have reason to be in contact with other staff or people generally and could, if they could work from home, was there some allowance given? Like, do we have some exemption to that for people at all? I can't hear you, Joanna.
Neither can I. Have we lost you?
We must have.
We can't hear you.
Joanna, you're on mute.
Yeah, Joanna, have you? She's not hearing us either, is she?
No.
I'll put it in the
Somebody
chat.
might
Can't hear
miss
you.
chat,
Can't hear
yeah.
you.
Perhaps that lovely
Joanna.
remote location she's at's impacted.
Yeah.
It's like her
Um,
device is disconnected.
Before, can I, for the chair, just a couple of things while Joanna's sorting out her problems. Just want to talk about a little bit the survey. Maybe just to pick up on what.
Apologies, everyone. Can you hear me now?
I'm just jumping in there, Joanna. Well, yeah, we can now. So
Okay,
yeah, I'm just going to just talk about culture and bullying and so forth. Look, low tolerance here for any level of bullying or and that's just not intimidation and so forth. That's just only from within our management team towards our people, obviously their colleagues, but also from external. We've seen a bit of an uptick and some quite negative comments around staff. We've been quite tough on social media. We've definitely have actually blocked a few people now. So yeah, just wanted to answer that question, Christine, because I think it's really important that, you know, I know you care about, you know, how our people are feeling, and we certainly do too. So there's absolutely zero tolerance, and we keep our ears to the ground. The other one was about the survey. What you talked about, Chris. The surveys are really important, and you know, quite often people say, "Oh, you get, you know, quite sometimes you get negative feedback. Sometimes of how a person feels on the day." But generally, we find we get some really good information about what we're doing well and what we could improve on. And we're a learning organisation. So unless you ask your people, it's a bit like performance reviews and 360-degree feedbacks. You know, it's a gift. So we actually find we have good participation in it, if you look back on the history of it. And it's and we put in a plan after that how we're going to address some of the challenges that some people might be facing. Our environment's changed significantly in the last 2 years. People working from home. Some people will come back and say they don't feel as connected to the workplace, so we've got some work to do there. So I think this actual survey will find quite a few different things, perhaps what we had in the past, and all things that we'll need to address. So they're very valuable. You know, we would love to get everyone 100% fully engaged, but the reality is that not everyone will be, and we need to find out why. So back to you, Joanna.
Yeah.
I've just got an extra question, if I may, Chair, around the abusive, aggressive behaviour and threatening behaviour. And you came to that, Leonie, around social media. So I've got a real concern around this area, and it's one thing to have someone front up at the desk or ring you up and have a go, but actually there are staff who are receiving emails from people that are quite abusive, I imagine, perhaps threatening, I'm not sure, and text as well. So I've read a few of the mayor's texts, and they're pretty appalling at times. So when, that's all, I don't know whether we are incorporating that sort of stream of where aggression and abuse is coming through, that it's through. So somebody's, receiving, I think of the Lagoima folk, but I'm thinking of some of the sort of incessant abuse of people who, are sending in emails pretty often, I imagine. The staff who are reading those and receiving them, even though they're not about them, there's an impact there, with a bigger, more traumatic thing, you'd say it was vicarious, but I think there's an issue there. And I know I've had a conversation with Leonie around, setting often with bullying and, abusive behaviour, setting boundaries really clearly can have quite an improvement, so when people write an email in that's got a whole lot of foul language in and is having a go at you or somebody, I just would love to see council have a reply that goes back very politely to say that actually, they need to change their tone and language to engage, and we certainly really want to hear from them, but that we don't accept that level of language or abuse, So, in Facebook as well, so great to hear there's some blocking going on, because some of the comments that come in following TDC's Facebook posts, I follow those closely and I look at the comments to see what's happening. And, I think it's a good thing to be blocking people that are just incessantly abusive and rude to particular people.
And also we block just not being abusive to people, but also, racist or whatever that might look like. I have sent a couple of letters to people who have been abusive. Interesting that I've had one that stalked me on LinkedIn. So I am taking a firm line, and you've got to be brave in this. And so yes, we have sent a few letters. We've got another person we've just put onto our not our managed customer list, our repetitive vexatious customer list, which is someone who continually goes on about the same subject and continually calls staff liars and everything. So yeah, I'm getting a lot tougher on it, and wanting staff to raise. I had one recently where we had staff upset, and I sent a letter to say, please don't treat our staff like that, and the person's on a managed customer list. So yeah, I think all local government is experiencing this. We are looking to do a campaign around, hey, these are your neighbours, these are your mothers, your someone's child, this is so it's not okay campaign, but it doesn't tend to get to these sorts of people, but it might make a few people think. Yeah.
And just to clarify, so when we talk about abusive events, we're just talking about face-to-face.
You've had a few, yeah. Yeah. But we get them recorded, and anything that comes through from customer services is recorded. So yes, we do get them face to face, but we are, and I'm not sure whether we might go on further. We'll talk, maybe not here, but talking about how we do our lockdown procedures and so forth when we're reviewing all of that at the moment as well, to keep our staff safe.
Thank you.
Gina.
Yeah, through the chair, just to add to what Leonie said in response to Councillor Hill, we do have some templated responses sound a little bit dry, but calling out behaviour when we see it, then we started to implement that through the long-term plan with some of the submissions we were getting, and that's the same on Facebook. So we get a warning, or a warning goes out where actually say it's not okay to communicate with us like this. It is really important that you're able to share your views and that you do that in an appropriate way. So this isn't about silencing a view that we disagree with, but you need to conduct yourself in a way that is okay. So that process is sadly gaining momentum because we're having to use it more and more.
Yeah, oh, great to hear that. Thank you.
I've just been reminded that we haven't yet tabled the late attachment, which was the health and safety due diligence plan. So I'd like to do that now. Do we need to resolve that, or can we just note that we're accepting it as a late paper? Paula?
Sorry, Elaine, can you just confirm for me? I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I lost sound for a big piece of that.
The tabling of the late attachment, the health and safety due diligence plan, do we need a resolution of that, or can we just accept that as being tabled or noted?
You can just accept that as being tabled and it'll be attached to the minutes.
Thank you. Graham McGlynn. You're on mute, Graham.
It said that I could hold the space bar down, but obviously that didn't work. Sorry about that. Involved in 2 other councils, and this personal security and increased aggravation is a common theme that's around on both of those other councils. So I suspect this is a widespread issue in the community at the moment, and it's sad to see. But we do need to be keeping our staff safe. So having a good think about the security arrangements and the ability of people to be able to extract themselves from situations and to manage the perpetrators, I think is very important. And I can only put it down to increased stresses coming out of the COVID situation that we've had.
Thank you. Any more questions, comments, or on this paper? No? So we've got a resolution before us to receive the paper. Do I have a mover and seconder? Graham?
Happy to.
Thank you. And David, are you happy to second?
It's fine, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
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 Contrary, carried. Thank you very much.
Through you, Chair, could I just a process question? So I'm indicating and waving sometimes. Maybe do you get to see all of our faces, or?
No, I don't. But
Okay.
if you raise your hand using the Zoom tool, on my screen, the people that have raised their hand pop up. So,
okay. I assumed you had a whole bank with all of us there and
no, I don't.
Visual. Okay, all good. Thank you.
Mine's just a regular laptop screen, and it would be so small that I couldn't see anything. Right. So we move now on to item 7.3, information services update. Peter and Steve.
Through you, Chair, this is the information update on the activities of the information services team, covering any audit and independent quality assessment work we're getting done as part of our programs, giving a summary of the digital innovation program we're currently undertaking, and some of our major business changes that are happening. So I'll take the report as read and ask for questions.
Right. Do any of the committee have any comments or questions for this report? Christine.
Thank you. I'm doing the right thing now. Through you, Chair. Look, I've heard, staff make very positive comments about the transformation that you're going through, Steve, with your whole area of work. So, congratulations on that. You're really opening up possibilities, and people are talking very positively about it. I guess my only question about the report and is, just from a governance lens, I feel that it would help me if I actually even had the most recent status report on the digital innovation program, because I read a lot of information in this narrative of this report, but at a snapshot, if I actually saw your most recent status report and I could see how you were tracking to budget and scope and time, and risks, I personally would find that quite useful. So I'd just be interested in your comment on that.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks for the kind words about the program. I have to say it's not down to me, it's down to Pete and the rest of the team who are doing the fantastic work on the ground. Yeah, look, there's a range of forum that meet to discuss the activities of the project, steering committees for individual projects, and an overall governance group which meets and discusses the program. It includes both Leonie and Jenna, as well as myself from staff on that. There are reports that are associated with that, including the summaries that you speak of. I'll make sure that we can get those in as an appendix regularly to this meeting, but I can also make them available to councillors perhaps once we get into the new triennium, which would kind of coincide with when the next monthly meeting is, and we can get them in the notice to councillors.
Yeah, thanks. It would just be, for me, it would just give me another level of assurance.
Yep.
Right. If there are no more questions, do we have a mover and seconder for the resolution, which is to receive this report?
I'm happy to move.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Graham. All those in favour say aye.
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 Right.
Contrary, carried. Thank you. That now brings us to the end of the open agenda, and we need to move a resolution to move into public excluded.
I'll move, Graham.
Thank you, David.
I'll second, Graham.
Thank
Christine.
you, Christine. All those in favour say aye.
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 Contrary, carried. Thank you. Can you let us know when we are all set up to proceed with public excluded, please?